I think it's interesting with Jennifer and I, it's interesting the name of what seems to be our ministry so is very similar. I mean, this series is called Living A Course in Miracles, and Jennifer's come through Agape and Ernest Holmes and religious science and science of mind and so forth, and I've come through A Course in Miracles and used Awakening Mind as a symbol for years and still do a bit, but living miracles. So we have Living A Course in Miracles and Living Miracles. You notice living is in both of the titles of the ministries. Some people would see us and they'd say we maybe, it looks like we have kind of an outreach, because both Jennifer and I seem to reach a lot of people with our ministries. I mean, there's thousands of people that have signed up for the Living A Course in Miracles sessions, 8-week sessions, and this is the third
time we've done it. Yeah.
Third time. And yet, I'd say instead of so much an outreach ministry for us, it's more, we're into Inreach. You know, we're really, when we get together, we really talk about our insights, about what we're discovering. And so it's more of an Inreach ministry into our hearts, because we're going into our hearts for the experience. And it may look to the world like we're meeting a lot of people. I guess it's just because we're kind of open-minded, you know. That's the last characteristic of a teacher of God, and we're collaborators, and we love to connect with whoever, whatever. You know, we're so open-minded, we pay attention to that. But really, it's all about our experience, and we're not really so much interested as much in numbers and quantity. It's more like the quality of experience is our focus. And I think that's probably why the Spirit brought us together in this kind of collaborative way. You know, we've even had some talks of, well, maybe we could do something in Joshua Tree or Hawaii or right here, you know, where we are right now, just because we know people like beautiful, pristine settings in nature. Not that it's anything more special than any other spot on earth. We know the holiest spot on earth is where an ancient hatred has become a present love. But it's very reflective of our minds. Like, there's a spaciousness where we have learned to stop and smell the roses. You know, we are not so focused on numbers and quantities and reaching people that we don't smell the roses. We're actually stopping to really enjoy the scent and the fragrance here, and it's really good.
It's wonderful, and coming together it's healing, it's nourishing, being like-minded, because I know a lot of us as spiritual seekers, we do a lot of work on our own. That's required. And so when we can come together and be in community and be with each other without judgment, it's profoundly healing. I know one of the things we've been talking about for the last few days is how the 2 guidelines that you have for your intentional community at the monastery. And why don't you, I'm sure a lot of your people know, but for folks who'll be listening to this who aren't as familiar with you, what are the 2 guidelines at the monastery there?
2 guidelines are no private thoughts and no people pleasing. And the no private thoughts, there's no shouldn'ts with it. It's just that when thoughts arise that weren't given to you by God, we'll say when egoic thoughts arise, or judgments, or attack thoughts, criticisms arise, that instead of stuffing them down with kind of oh, I shouldn't think that, oh, I shouldn't be feeling these feelings, it's not spiritual, oh, I better never let anyone know that I have these thoughts. Mm-hmm. It's better when you have a sense of safety and comfort, and you're among friends, to be able to take the lid off, let them up, and then let them go. And all spiritualities emphasize letting go of judgments, grievances, attack thoughts. So in one sense, it's like a practical application of that, where there's a permission to let them up and let them go. And if you're doing it with another person, or you're doing it in a small group, then it's a great opportunity to not take them personally. You know, to just all view them as ego thoughts moving through, clearing out, making space for the love and the light and those real thoughts. I am as God created me. I am spirit. You know, I am the light of the world. Oh, those are real thoughts. And those are the thoughts that all spiritualities have been teaching us that we really are, truly. But as long as we have a layer of these imposter thoughts, that we're too afraid to even admit that we're thinking them, and we stuff them back down in the unconscious. How are we going to let them go if we're so afraid that they're real? We have to be shown by the Spirit that they're not. And no people-pleasing. I just think that people-pleasing is one of the most insidious defense mechanisms. I think, Freud could have put it right in there with denial, repression, projection, sublimation, all of the ones that he came up with, because it's so sneaky that you want to be accepted, you want to be approved of, you want to be loved by certain ones in your life. You start acting certain ways, and when you're around certain people, you put on a mask and you start to pretend, because you don't want to rock the boat. You want to kind of be like a chameleon, fit right in. Oh, my mom likes me when I'm this way, or my dad likes me when I'm this way, or my children think of me this way, and I can't let them down. And these are so common that they just aren't even questioned. I mean, I've had people say, is that people pleasing? I was just trying to be a loving mother or spouse, and I didn't realize. I mean, of course I'm acting, I'm bending and twisting to be a certain way so that I'll be loved, but I thought that was love. And the more you get into this deeper spirituality, you see that shaping and molding yourself in your mask to be accepted by others and approved by others, it drives you nuts, and it's very tiring. That's why people get burned out and have to just have escapes, because they feel like they've compromised so much. So to me, those two guidelines really help you practice in a very deep way. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists, but as long as you believe in this mask and you actually put a lot of energy into protecting and defending the mask, then you don't have that energy available for your true mind healing.
And sometimes in spiritual circles, people will really people please to the maximum people pleasability, because they think that that's what's being spiritual. And so it's about being willing to say how you really feel, and even to share your thoughts, with moving into that space of not believing that they're true. So like if I were to, just to make something up, if I were to say, I really have this recurring thought that keeps coming up, that you should be different than you are, David. I love you and I appreciate you, but it just keeps hounding on my mind that you should live in a different way, or you should have different shoes on, or something like that. The spiritual teacher should never show up in sandals. He should show up in a shirt and a tie. And this is just, this is not good, this is crazy. If I were to say that to you without thinking that I was right, but actually to expose it and say, can you help me look at this thought? Can you help me look at it so I don't have to repress it or carry it around or make it something real? Then we can, first of all, if he's not used to doing that, he might be shocked, but then he might start laughing and say, oh my God, I think we could start to do this together. How cool would that be? That we don't have to take these thoughts seriously, even if we feel our life depends upon it.
Like last night, it was beautiful. Jennifer was showing us a stand-up comedian show from maybe about 10, 11 years ago, but it was, why do people laugh? And what is so funny, is so great, is because stand-up comedians will talk about things that people don't always talk about, or they'll talk about them from a particular angle in a way that just strikes the funny bone, so to speak. People laugh because there's a part that says you just don't say that in open company, and they're doing it in open company on a stage in front of hundreds or thousands of people, and then we laugh, and our inner joy grows stronger and stronger. And I think it's the same kind of quality with this no private thought thing, that when people expose their opinions, their judgments and so forth, we're not talking that they don't all have to be these intense critical things. It could be like Jennifer was saying, like, well, why are you wearing sandals, or this or this or that? It could be that. If you have the freedom to express that, and you can start to laugh at the things and not take clothing and all these things about appearance and things so serious, that laughter starts to grow stronger and stronger, and it prepares you for something that, like this comedian last night was talking about, I don't know, when Frank Sinatra was reported as having died or something, and
Oh, yeah.
just his facial expression, he was going back and forth between serious and I should be sad, and it's kind of funny. There was a funniness about not taking the thought of death seriously, and he was just doing it with his eyes and his facial expression back and forth, and everybody was roaring and the crowd laughing because, the ego has us take certain things very, very seriously, and other things, are supposed to be funny, but with the spirit we start to feel like a general lightness coming in towards the whole human condition. That we cannot take the whole human condition so seriously, and we feel more childlike, more spontaneous, more playful, and there's more of a running funniness that's like tickling us as we move through our daily life.
That's really true.
And isn't that great? Isn't that what we always wanted? If we would have spent any amount of time, effort, money, anything to have that experience, and now we're starting to get in touch with it.
And when you first get the hang of this, you might find yourself inappropriately laughing a lot. I know I've done that when people are giving a serious talk and I'm in the audience. Sometimes they'll say something where it's judgment, and I just start laughing, and then I realize, oh, they
No one else
really
is
believe
laughing.
that. Yeah, I'm the only one that's laughing. Oops, the crazy person. It happens. It definitely happens. So this is the 99%. This is the practice, these things. And I remember one time I was having a conversation with my brother many years ago, and my brother and I used to have a very contentious relationship, and we had a lot of challenges. And I was really walking my talk and learning to practice, not just be the studious one, but the living, breathing, walking, talking one. And my brother and I were talking about politics late one night over the kitchen table, and he said something, I can't remember what it was, and all that I could think of in my mind was judgments. And so I knew I didn't want to share any of those because I knew no good would come of it. It would just provoke him. And so I just looked at him and I said, you know what, Mike? All I can think of are a whole bunch of judgments about what you just said, and I know that there's not one of those judgments that's actually true, so there's no point in saying them because I know they would just provoke you, and then we would have an argument, and I don't want that. I just want us to be loving and be able to connect and share how we feel and what's going on with each other, so I don't know what to say. And he looked at me for a little while, and then he said, well, okay. But I know when he was looking at me and not knowing what to say, he was kind of thinking, who are you? And what'd you do with my sister? I think you're a pod person. But it actually, it was a great transformation. And I didn't think of it till later, but it was a teaching moment. Because a lot of times spiritual seekers, they get into thinking that they know something that now they have to teach others, particularly their friends and family. And then they get really upset because their friends and family, particularly many friends and family, the whole Course in Miracles, it's an illusion. It's such an affront to what they believe that it's not really kind to try and convince them or think that they're wrong. And that's living in the 1% intellectually, and the 99% hasn't showed up on the radar yet.